everyone and welcome to today's video. So today I'm going to be doing a tutorial slash first impression review of the brand new Jeffree Star Weirdo palette. So I of course have created this look with it. This is the first time using it, total first impressions. So if you want to see how I created this look and just hear all about my first impressions of the Weirdo palette, then stick around. So I actually picked up this palette as part of my Supreme mystery box that I've just received. I've already unboxed it on my channel, so if you want to see what other items I got in my mystery box, then check that out as well. But yes, today I'm going to be reviewing this palette and just giving my first impressions of it. I thought what I would do first is just to swatch all 9 of the really beautiful shades in this palette before moving on to show you how I obviously created this look using this palette. Well, my first impression just of the palette is that I think it looks really cool, and I like that Jeffree Star is bringing out more 9-pan palettes. First impressions looking at these shades, I think this is a really interesting colour story. Definitely 16-year-old emo me would have absolutely loved to have had this palette. That's not to say that 30-year-old me now doesn't love it, because I think it's really interesting. I like that there's these more brighter shades along with all of these kind of darker grey matte shades, and I have swatched them and they have all swatched really beautifully. So what a colour story is that. I think that that is really interesting. So starting at the top, we have got this kind of creamy ivory matte shade, which is shade Glamour Shot. I think that would be a really great shade to use to maybe lighten up some of these darker shades if you wanted to go for a slightly lighter look. Underneath that is the only shimmer in this palette, which is shade Razor Blade, which if you haven't worked out, obviously I've used to create this look. Underneath that is a really nice pink matte shade, and it definitely looks more pink on my skin and on my eye than it does in the actual palette itself, but that is shade Mohawk. Underneath that is a really nice slate grey matte shade that I actually did also use for the outer part of this look, and that is shade Punk Couture. Moving down to the 5th shade, much darker. Well, I say much darker, it's a matte black shade, so you couldn't really get much darker a shade than that, and that is shade Weirdo. Underneath that, that kind of burgundy shade, which I also used for this look, that is shade Only Child, and I think this looks more purple on the skin again than it does in the palette. Definitely more burgundy vibe in the palette, but I still think it's a really gorgeous shade. The 7th shade we have got, which has almost got like a bluey grey feel to it. Very nice matte shade again. That is shade 1985. Moving down to the 8th shade, this is a really dark grey matte shade. Definitely looks far different kind of up close and in the palette than it does to Weirdo. But anyway, that is shade Freak Show. And then lastly at the bottom, a really bright blood red matte shade, really gorgeous shade actually. That is shade Scene Queen. So what a colour story. I am obsessed with this upon first impression. So that's all the swatches done. I am now going to show you how to create this look using of course the Weirdo palette. Well, I have of course got all of my base makeup done so I can focus on the eyes using the Jeffree Star Weirdo palette. So I've had a little look at the palette, kind of worked out what look I'm going to do, and I'm just really excited to get stuck into this palette and create a really fun look with it. So that's the outside of the packaging, and then opening it up, there of course are all of the shades. So the first shade I'm going to go in with is this shade here, this kind of lighter pink matte shade. This is shade Mohawk. And for that, I just want to get this all packed onto the inner part of my eye. So that is, as expected, super pigmented. I've like got the tiniest amount on my brush and it's already laying down really beautifully. Nice, soft, pink in what I think is otherwise, I say pink, it's kind of like a pinky purple, mauvey sort of colour. I think it's nice to have this softer shade in a palette that's otherwise full of some quite dark and grungy shades. So yeah, laying down really beautifully, colour payoff and pigmentation is excellent, as I kind of expected really. And I'm just going to bring this about halfway across my eye. Next up, I'm going to be going in with shade Only Child, which is, I don't know, quite a deep burgundy purple shade. It's another matte shade. I'm just taking the same brush that I was using before, and I'm just going to kind of blend this into shade Mohawk just on the inner part of my eye. So I've opted to put really quite a tiny amount on the brush. Just I wanted to make this pink a bit more purpley, but it is blending in really, really nicely, I have to say. So I'm really happy with that. I'm just wanting to get the same done on this eye. And I have to say, I really like the colour story in this palette. I also think that teenager me would have absolutely loved the colour story in this palette. I was one of those that went through an emo phase. I think really most people probably did at some point, and I wore a lot of makeup in these shades, but it's not to say that I don't still like, obviously, playing with different colours and different shades. But yeah, I think this is a really cool colour story in my opinion. I wanted to do this because I didn't want to do just like a grey silver look, because there is quite a lot of varying shades of grey in this palette. I definitely wanted to make use of some of the more colourful shades in it, and I think now very happy with the placement and the blend of Mohawk and Only Child. Next up, so I wanted to do like quite a dark grey outer corner just to go with this purpley pinky mixture I've got going on the inner corner. So I think I'm not going to go for the darkest grey in this palette, but I'm going to use Punk Couture, which has got that really nice kind of slate grey that I kind of had envisaged in my head when I was thinking about doing this look with this palette. So again, I'm just going to pop a small amount onto my brush because I know it's going to be super pigmented, and I'd rather kind of build up the look rather than go, you know, all in at once. So yeah, this shade is translating really nicely onto my eye. I think this is going to build up really, really nicely as well. I think this will be a really good grey as well for like a really nice smoky look. And just gonna blend that in with shade Only Child and shade Mohawk. So I think that looks pretty cool actually. Definitely want to keep the edges quite soft. I don't want this to be like too much of a blocky look, and I like that the kind of more darker focus is on the crease and then gets softer as it goes out. I like that you really can do what you want with these shades. They are very workable, they are very buildable and just really lovely so to work with. I'm just going to, of course, do the same on this eye. Definitely excited to do some more looks with this palette. Wow, I am super happy with how those shades have laid down, and of course, given the fact that there is only one shimmer or metallic in this palette, which is shade Razor Blade, of course I have to use it for this look. So I am going to be doing a cut crease just with my trusty Beauty Bay eye base, and then of course I'm going to be laying down shade Razor Blade. I really do love the shimmers and metallics that are in Jeffree Star palette, so expectations for this one are really high. Also, having said that, I think one of my favourite silver shades I have out of all of my palettes is the Diet Cola shade in the Conspiracy palette, so I'm really hoping that this one here lives up to the expectations of that shade, because yeah, just want to add a bit of glitz and sparkle to this look. wanted to recreate this look yourself and you didn't feel comfortable doing a cut crease, then you could use a bit of like makeup remover to free up some of your lid, or you could just pop the shimmer straight on top of the shade you had down already. I just prefer to do this because it just gives me like a blank canvas to pop my shimmer down and hopefully get maximum payoff from it. So not taking this all the way to the edge, I do want to keep some of that grey outer corner there, and I will just get my other eye done. So there we go, cut crease done on both eyes, and so I am now ready to go in with shade Razor Blade, which is of course this gorgeous shimmery silver. And I'm going to start off by applying it with a brush and seeing how that goes. It's feeling nice and buttery, really good amount on the brush, and yeah, I'd say that's a more than decent payoff there. That shimmer, wow, that is really, really stunning. That is absolutely gorgeous. What I'll do is I will get both lids covered and then I'll go back in ever so slightly with shade Punk Couture and just blend out the edges a bit better. But wow, you can really see how that has just really, really added to this look. I love this shade. Sometimes I think like you see the swatches that Jeffree Star does in the videos and you just don't believe that the shades can actually look like that, but this silver is everything. And then I'm just going to go back in slightly with Punk Couture just to blend out that outer part there. Wow, there we go, top lid is all done. So for the bottom part of this look, I am going back in with Punk Couture just on the very outer part of my under eye, and then I'll be doing that same mixture of Mohawk and Only Child, which of course were these two shades here, just on the inner part, just so the whole look is cohesive from top to bottom. So starting with Punk Couture, really just want this on the very outer part because I don't want the under eye to be too dark and take away too much from that gorgeous silver shimmer. And then this eye as well. And then for the rest of my under eye, I'm going to do it backwards to how I did it on the top part of my eye, and I'm going to go in with the shade Only Child first, which was that really lovely burgundy matte shade. You really do not need a lot on your brush to get the colour payoff. This again I think looks less dark on my eye than it does in the palette, which I actually quite like. It definitely looks super burgundy in the palette, but less so on my eye. And then lastly, back in with Mohawk just to soften it up slightly. And there we have it. Now that I have done the whole eyeshadow look, I'm just going to be using a black eyeliner pencil in my waterline. I've just got this black one here from Primark. And then I'm going to be using a black mascara, and I've got my Maybelline Sky High mascara. And then for my lipstick, which I haven't forgotten about, I am going to be using one of my favourite shades of the Jeffree Star Velour liquid lipsticks. I have got shade Calabasas, which is a really lovely pink. I just thought it would complement the kind of pinky purple bits of this look really nicely. So in with the eyeliner. In with the mascara. And lastly, just in with the lipstick. And there we have the finished look. So as always, I will just give you a close-up of the eyeshadow so you can see that in a bit more detail. I definitely have to say that my first impressions of the Jeffree Star Weirdo palette have been wow. I have been mesmerised by the colour story. I have used a lot of his palettes before, so kind of obviously expect the formula to be amazing and the pigmentation and the payoff on all of that, and definitely has surpassed and exceeded my expectations. I love the colour story. I think the packaging is really cool, and I just think overall, yeah, it's just a really me palette, I think. One thing that I actually really like to do with the packaging is the fact that the uni carton is so different to the actual palette itself. So the uni carton is this really nice matte black cardboard. Weirdo, of course, with the really cool font written across it in the embossed metallic writing, and then the Jeffree Star logo just kind of hiding away nicely behind there. And then the actual palette itself, of course, says Weirdo and has got a picture of Jeffree Star on it. And then opening up, we have got nice mirror, and then obviously all 9 of the shades. The only thing I was a bit surprised about actually is that none of the shades have a different stamp in them. They are all the Jeffree Star logo, but I just thought that maybe one of the shades would have a different stamp in, but of course that doesn't take away from the quality or, you know, how the shades work or anything. That's purely just an aesthetic thing. So I actually picked this palette up in my Supreme Halloween mystery box. So I have already unboxed that on my channel. So if you're interested in seeing everything else I got in my Supreme Jeffree Star mystery box, then check out that video as well. It probably will be the video previous to this one. If not, I'll pop it in the description or on the end cards or something, but definitely check that out. Please do let me know if you have this palette or you're thinking of picking it up, or even if you just have a favourite shade that you've seen in this palette. I would really love to know. But as always, thank you so much for watching today's video. I hope that you enjoyed it. If you did, please do give the video a big thumbs up, leave me a comment, and if you are new to my channel, please consider subscribing, and I'll see you again in my next video.